Welcome to the Inside Story. I'm Billy Hallowell, and today I am joined by Leonardo Blair to break down an important story, the story surrounding Robert Morris, the former megachurch pastor who will now serve prison time. We're going to break down what happened, take you through the details. Leo, how you doing today?
I'm great, Billy. Thank you for having me on again.
Well, as always, you do incredible work, and having you break these stories down helps us understand exactly what is going on. A lot of people have seen the headlines about Robert Morris over the past year. It has been a major story with so many elements that make it difficult sometimes for people to understand what is going on. But where we are right now, his criminal case has come to a close, and there was a plea agreement. So we're going to start there, and then we're going to work back into some of the details. But what are the terms of his plea agreement?
Yeah, for sure. So, as everyone knows, Robert Morris is the founder of Gateway Church in Southlake, Texas. He founded this church in 2000. Um, he has been sentenced to a 6-month jail term, along with a 10-year suspended sentence. With where he will be supervised by the state of Texas. He's also going to be paying $270,000 in restitution, and he will also have to register as a sex offender um, for after pleading guilty to 5 counts of lewd or indecent acts with a child in Oklahoma.
It is so, you're bringing up here some of the issues at the core of this. Cindy Klemishire, which we'll talk about in a moment, she is the victim here. And she's in her 50s now, but this all happened when she was 12 years old. This started. For those who don't know the backstory, can you explain a little bit more? You just talked about what he pleaded guilty to, but of his crime and of what actually happened here.
Right. So Miss Clemishire, she alleged, well, she stated that Morris began sexually abusing her on December 25th, 1982, when she was just 12 years old, when he was a traveling evangelist. And this happened in the home of her parents, who were also Christians. The initial encounter, after that initial encounter, the abuse continued for another 4.5 years after that. So those incidents are what led to the charges earlier this year.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of time lapsing in between. One of the big claims, and it seems, I mean, based on the fact that here we are, you have a plea agreement, you have all the details you just mentioned, was that Cindy and her family had repeatedly tried to sound the alarm on what had happened and had gone to many people, and according to them, nobody of any authority did anything to really address the claims that they were making of what had happened to her as a child. And that part of the story, as a journalist, I'm just curious, as somebody who covers this a lot, has that been shocking to you? If the claim is that they went to all these people over the years and nobody really stepped up to help in any discernible way, I don't know that I've seen a lot of cases like that are that widespread.
Yeah, no, I think as more and more churches, and people in general become educated about what uh, abuse looks like, whether it's physical, sexual, spiritual abuse conducted in the realms of the church, in a church space. And then you talk about insurance and liability. Many churches, whenever these cases arise, they will work extremely hard to try to avoid accountability, because once they are held accountable, the liability of the church increases. And we've seen cases where allegations have been made against a church, and now their insurance gets involved, and they realize that, listen, it's going to be much more difficult for us. I've seen churches close because of sexual abuse allegations that have been made against officials there.
Yeah, and it's heartbreaking when this happens, and that's why it's important for us to talk about it here on the show and to make sure people understand. And this case is multifaceted, right? Just because the criminal charges have now closed out and there's been a plea deal, there are other legal issues. What are some of the other legal issues currently going on surrounding Robert Morris and Gateway?
Yeah, I mean, and a number of issues are happening right now. Members have stepped up. I mean, Cindy Klemishire herself and her father, Jerry Lee Clemishire, they filed a lawsuit earlier this year seeking more than $1 million. They allege that Morris and Gateway Church leaders mischaracterized the abuse she suffered as a consensual relationship, and framed her as a young lady for a long time instead of making it clear that she was a child and she was a victim of a sexual assault at the time when it happened. Um, Robert Morris has also been locked in a bitter pay dispute with Gateway Church, and he has asked for arbitration. He alleges that he was orally promised $800 per year in retirement until he turned 70, and that after that he would have been paid $600,000 annually until his death. And in the event that he died before his wife, Debbie, those payments would continue to be made to her until she passed as well. Last month, a class action lawsuit. Gateway Church tried to get a class action lawsuit filed against Robert Morris and the church for misappropriating church funds. And a U.S. District Court judge, Amos El Massat, he denied that motion. The church members alleged that Gateway and Morris convinced them to give money by stating that 15% of their donations would go towards global missions and Jewish ministry partners. But when they tried to get accountability, they wanted evidence to substantiate how the church was using those donations. They were not able to do that, and they filed this lawsuit.
Yeah, I mean, this is again multifaceted, so thank you for breaking that down. Now, I want to I want to just briefly ask you what we know about Cindy Klemishire, his accuser, and again, you even using that word, I think victim now is the word we will use because he's pleaded guilty. What do we know about Cindy?
Yeah, I mean, Cindy is a survivor. We see that she had been trying to get justice over many, many years. She's a really, really passionate grandmother, and she has been calling for the Gateway Church officials to um, be held to account. And one of the things that I will always say about Cindy, having communicated with her, through a number of channels, is that she tells her story very well. And she has been trying to make her voice heard for a long time. And what's happened, uh, this week, in the last couple of weeks, it's spoken volumes. Now she's finding her voice, and she wants the world to know what she has gone through, and now we're all listening.
Well, and I think that is, the important piece here is that her voice has been heard. And, I've spoken with her a number of times, and I think it's very hard when you're going to people and trying to be heard after going through something that has transformed your life in a negative way, that has shaped you, and nobody wants to listen. So she's had that vindication of people hearing her now. Um, just as a final question, how are people reacting to the case and its conclusion when it comes to the criminal element of it?
I think based on what I've seen, the survivor community has been breathing a sigh of relief. They've seen this case as a vindication, and there are some people that who are supporters of Robert Morris who have probably initially they've said that all Cindy wanted was money, and she was seeking fame and not really looking for justice, saying she should have kept quiet. But I think the conversation, the different reactions to this story, what it has done is it's given the church an opportunity to pause and to think and to really come to terms with what does a healthy church look like? What does healthy church leadership look like? How should we be treating these types of issues? And I hope the conversation continues, and I hope churches will continue to work with survivors to improve accountability systems for when abuses like this happen.
Yeah, well, I so agree with you, and I'm hopeful that, we can learn from this and move forward. Leonardo Blair, appreciate you breaking down this important story for us today.
Thank you.
Everyone else, make sure you head on over to the Christian Post and tune in next week for another episode of The Inside Story. We'll see you then.